Hey YouTube, this is DiggerDuggit, also known as DiggerDug on a lot of the metal detection forums. I want to do an air test video today on the Tesoro compadre because a lot of people are always asking the question, how deep will it go? Well, everybody knows that a lot of that depends on the conditions of the soil that you're detecting in. And some people will say, well, air tests are nonsense. They don't tell you anything. Well, I disagree. They help a person to learn their machine as far as discrimination, sensitivity settings, and gives them a baseline to operate from. It's kind of like buying a car. Yeah, you can tell a lot by driving it, but you can learn a lot just by cranking up and seeing how it runs too. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to crank up this compadre and see what it can do. We're going to start with coins and work our way down to some relics. So here we go. This is a 1906 Indian head penny. Oh, by the way, my settings are at the I in iron. And as you can see, this is an old encrusted piece of iron. And it's not even making a peep on it. So it will kick out nails, most iron, things like that, unless it's extremely large. But you'll be able to retain all the other metals. So let's try this Indian head scent. And I'm not going to sweep extremely fast either. It's about 5.5 inches on the Indian head scent. Now we're going to go to a buffalo nickel. Date unknown. It's been rubbed off. Another thing too, people ask, well, Tesoros, they only have one sound. How can you tell the difference? Well, after you listen to these different tones, you'll notice that there is a distinct difference when you hear a coin versus garbage or other types of things. Coins tend to give a very solid signal. I got 6 inches on that buffalo. Now let's try this 1939 nickel. Six inches all day long. Now a word to the wise, when you first turn this machine on, I would not advise having your headset on because it will cause you to go deaf. The battery test on this is extremely loud, so just try to keep that in mind when you turn it on. Alright, moving on here, we have a 1942 mercury dime. Five inches. We have a 1914 barber quarter. 5.5 inches. Have a modern nickel. Right at 6 inches. Here's a modern Roosevelt dime. Five inches. Now when I say modern, I mean anything that's clad. And here's a modern quarter. Five and a half inches. A few little odd things here. Here's a copper token. between 5.5 and 6 inches. Here is a British 1 penny. It is from 1910. It's a rather large coin. Inches. All right, let's move on to just a few gold things. Now this is a 10 carat 0.3 gram toe ring. A good solid signal at 5 inches. Maybe 5 1/4. And that's a very small gold piece. I don't think a lot of detectors would even pick that up, let alone go 5 inches on it. Okay, ring, 14 carat, 1.6 grams, which is still a rather small ring. About 5.5 inches. Now I will tell you from experience, a lot of gold items will kick out between pull tab and nickel. So when I hunt a tot lot, I generally keep my discrimination down to around iron so I can pick up even the smallest of gold items. Here's a kind of large silver earring. I found this on a beach down in St. Pete one day. About 4.5 inches. Okay, we're going to move on to some relics right now. And the main reason I'm doing relics with this machine is you could be hunting an old homestead and you might be thinking about, well, I just want a coin shoot. But the house could have a history of the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, or anything like that. So you don't want to give up any chance of finding some relics as well. So that's why I'm doing air test on relics. There's a button back. Five and a half inches. A large tint grommet. About 6.5 inches. It's a small buckle. About 6 inches. Everybody's favorite, a Union 3-ringer. About 5.5, 6 inches. If you haven't noticed, there's kind of a common theme here. A lot of things are ranging between the 5 and 6 inch mark. But you have to keep in mind, this is a 5 3/4 inch cool. So that's pretty much the norm for that. Here's a small pistol shot. About 3.5 inches. Now, here's something interesting. This is a very small button. Oh, so small in fact that I dropped it. But as you can see, it's very small. That's the very unique thing about the compadre. Other machines will go deeper. However, the smaller things can be missed. The compadre will not miss them. About 4 inches. And that's incredible for something so small, I think. So a lot of people may be looking at this machine at this point and saying, well, you know what? you haven't really got anything over 6 inches, so I don't know if it's all that great. We're talking about a machine that at the time of this taping goes for about $160. Comes with the 5 3/4 inch coil, runs at 12 megahertz, which is great for gold. It does not have an interchangeable coil. If you get the older ones, they have a 7-inch coil, but they're not going to give you much more in depth than what this one does. It's one knob, just a discrimination knob. The sensitivity is preset at the factory, but I can tell you from experience, this is a great machine. And also it's Tesoro, so it gives you a lifetime warranty. I don't think you can find anything out there for its price range that can do a better job, in my personal opinion. This is a great machine. Let's try something a little larger. That's a watch cob. Similar size to, say, a small buckle, a union breastplate, something of that nature. Let's see what it can do. Between 7.5 and 8 inches, which is not bad because I've dug many of relics much shallower than that. Now let's just cover one last topic on here: discrimination. This iron object here would fool most detectors, and the problem is it would come up as silver or silver dollar on machines that have visual discrimination. And as you can see, this machine picks it up as well. But let's try turning it up and seeing what it does. Okay, I have it set at max. There's actually a word that's on there, it says max. And that's where I would coin shoot, because at max it will kick out zinc pennies, but it will still pick up Indian head cents, silver, and any kind of silver type clad. But it will kick this out. And to me that's amazing, especially for a metal detector at this price. Remember this piece of metal? This can easily fool a metal detector. You get a blip, but that's about all you're going to get. So this is my evaluation of the Tesoro compadre. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something. I continue to learn things, and today's a rainy day, so I like to take the time and play around with my detector and discrimination and learn as much as I can. It only enhances the features when you get out in the field and actually use it. Well, this is DiggerDuggit. Until the next video, y'all be safe out there and enjoy the hunt. Thanks for watching.